I don't know what's going on. I'm having such a bad time.
That doesn't smell very good. And then she left.
Yes, be weirded out. That is what this is for.
The process for commentating a GoGo Battles show is ultimate chaos.
I don't like it. No.
Lactose-free sour cream that wasn't put in the fridge.
Now, a lot of people in GoGo Battles history think that the show really changed at the moment that we had two mimes fight each other.
And we unfortunately popped Cheryl.
Worth it every time.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to go
Tonight in the spirit of truth and reconciliation on the land of the Kainai, the Piikani, the Siksika, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda, Wesley, Barabon, Chiniki, Goodstoney, and this area is also home to Métis Nations 5 and 6. That's right, update your Indigenous voices, and over to our host, it's Baron Von Boom!
Ladies and gentlemen, dames and ladies, friends of the non-binary, are you ready to go? Primarily with GoGo Battles, my current role is one of the hosts, so I'm the staple, not the color commentary, but I guess the major play-by-play kind of host. I'm lucky enough to be able to host every episode, and they rotate my co-hosts to do the play-by-play. So it's something I've been doing for hosting for about 4 years now, at least for GoGo Battles, and been the staple for about 2 years. I first got involved, I'm going to say in season 1, first as a fan. So I started attending the shows. Friends of mine were producing the shows, and part of the kind of burlesque cabaret performance community in drag. You know, it's important to go to support each other's shows. So myself and my wife and others, we went and just kind of were blown away as to what is this. I guess I first got involved with performance community in like burlesque and drag about 15 years ago. Started kind of behind the scenes. My roommate at the time had her own troupe, so I'd be kind of a roadie and help out here and there. And there was a couple of shows where they were contracted to have like men in black, make it look like security and kind of famous them all up. So I did that a couple of times. And then at that point moved away, got my own place and whatnot, and took about a year off when I was doing traveling for work and whatnot. And then I would say about 11 or 12 years ago, I took, my wife and I had just started dating, and I took her to a show, and she ended up signing up for burlesque, unbeknownst to me, to surprise, you know, I was the door person for one of the local staple shows. And so she signed up for classes and she got involved. And while I'd been around the community for about 5 years, so I'd never been on stage. And they were doing a traveling show, and I think they had lost their MC last minute. So the producer, Daisy DeVille, asked if I'd be willing to stand in and be the MC. And that was, I guess, 10 years ago now. And so that's kind of my origin story, is that, you know, someone mistakenly gave me a mic and they haven't been able to wrestle it away from me. And I've done, through burlesque and cabaret, I've been able to host a bunch of shows and festivals, and now we're producing our own shows and been working pretty heavily with Cabaret Calgary and trying to support whatever they're doing. And so I was thrilled to be able to be asked to come on and help with this production and you know, be a part of the stage presence and then be the voice of GoGo Battles is just an absolute thrill for me. The process for commentating a GoGo Battles show is ultimate chaos. I would suggest that you never know what's coming. Each episode is one more than the last. And it's not just in the number of characters, but in the hijinks that ensue and the props and the storylines. And how they come up with these ideas, I have no idea. But when I show up, typically it's around dress rehearsal, or I mean, it's all real, it's not scripted. Of course, it's all at the moment. But when I show up and kind of get, here's what's going to happen, I'm just gobsmacked for the first 10 minutes going, what the hell is going on? And trying to figure out, so I make sure, you know, that I'm catching everything. And the big thing is there's a lot of gags, there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of things that need a bit of exposition. And it's really just try to, you know, communicate for those that can't see as to what's going on, but really try to give that energetic flair to everyone to, this is wild and insane, and oh my God, do you see what's happening, and that type of thing. So it's one of the coolest jobs I've ever had in my life. I have kind of a call like the famous MGM boxer, you know, are you ready to go? And that's a lot of fun, and it's morphed over time. But yeah, I tried to do as much research as I can. But because this is so chaotic and there's no amount of research that I can do to prepare me for what comes in the next episode. So it's just really trying to get out there and see how can I communicate better, learning the moves better, learning actually what's going on. Because it's amazing. One of the episodes where when we started working with our ref, Rodney Rogers. And Rodney is, you know, a wrestling coach, but has also done a lot of wrestling, worked with a lot of wrestlers. So he teaches all the fighters the moves. And as we're going through them, I'm getting all the names down and making sure. And at one of the end of the episodes, crowd members were coming up and that was awesome, that was amazing. Like, you were on the ball, you were really going, like, calling out the moves. And these were real wrestling moves. This wasn't just like fake acting. And they were loving it because it was kind of what they were seeing on screen, from like a power bomb to a DDT to those types of things. And it's just, the more accurate and fun we can have, and the more that we can communicate that, the better time that the audience is having. And they're really appreciative of it. So I'm trying to be as knowledgeable of what's coming as I can, and really try to communicate the narrative and the exposition. And yeah. So thinking back to some of my favorite memories of GoGo Battles, the food fights do come to mind. And there's actually two of them. We had two food fights. The first one that we had, I thought was, could never be topped until we had the second one.
The food fights have been
The food fight.
a point of tension for so many things, because I'm just like, the expense of it. We can do it one time. Now we're going to create all this garbage, blah, blah, blah. And then we have to like figure out exactly the balance point where it's like worth how much we're going to spend on it, and like the delivery of it. So
Worth it every time. Worth it every time.
I have many, many memories from GoGo Battles. Some good, some gross, some very gross.
I can't remember what the story was, but regardless, we had an entire table set up of food, like a buffet. And at one point, so we put like one tarp down. We gave, you know, as the crowd came in, we gave them some garbage bags, but didn't tell them what was going on. And it devolved into this big chaotic orchestra, almost like synchronized swimming. Because at one point after we'd thrown the food everywhere, we tipped a table up on its end, and then all you see is legs in synchronized, like synchronized swimming. And then it's like streams of ketchup and mustard. And then it was streams of mayonnaise. And then we had the wedding. And the wedding was, it just took what we did the first time and elevated it to an exponential level. And we had twice as many fighters, and we had a full-on choreographed, food fight like you saw in like Stand By Me or something. And it was just food everywhere, and so much food everywhere. And
Do I remember the food fight? Absolutely. The food fight was so fun. Everyone was listing what they were gonna do. And that really ties into my comedy, because I'm like, well, how do I write something? Like, how do you write a food for a food fight? Because we all were going around a circle saying the food that we wanted to bring. And so everyone was like, I'm gonna think of something gloppy, like spaghetti and jello. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm a writer. We've already got glop, 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 glop. And so I was like, fluffy pastel mini marshmallows, because I knew that if I took 2 bags of fluffy pastel mini marshmallows and went, they would just fly everywhere like confetti, and then also stick into all of the gloppy stuff, and then it would just make more textures on the gloppy stuff. And so we were also told that we needed to drag out the food fight for as long as possible. So I really paced it. I had marshmallows flying for the whole food fight. And then by the time I finally ran out, I found someone else had brought like a big bowl. It was probably like the pudding bowl or something. And people were like crawling around. And so I was crawling around like a soldier in Vietnam, like PTSD, with a bowl on my head, just crying on my knees, like, I don't like it. No.
A bunch of just random food items, pies, like shaving cream pies that were there. And they all had it all laid out on this beautiful table. And then they brought out the main course, which was me, who was a lobster. So they wheel me out on this like serving tray, essentially, whip off the cover, because I was under a cover, and there's the lobster. Now, I had butter. I had 2 sticks of butter, and I was taunting all the other wrestlers with this butter and essentially threw them onto the table. This was the start of the food fight. Near the end of the food fight, they realized that I was the one who instigated it. They grabbed me and threw me on the table and started throwing food on me and piling food on me. And just the smell was probably one of the most vile things. At the end of it, they were just piling food on top of me. So I had a huge thing of spaghetti on top of my chest, and then on my stomach was just a mountain of mashed potatoes. I had pudding in places that I don't even know could have had pudding in them. And essentially that's how I died. I died on this table covered in food, and they all left, and I had to sit there being dead, covered in food. Eventually, Carla came up and was like, okay, you're done, you can leave now. They had to clean up after the food fight. And I got up, and my costume was very absorbent, and it weighed about 20 pounds heavier than when I came out, just from absorbing all the liquids and different food substances.
But that wasn't the grossest thing. We were in Golden doing GoGo Battles. For a different Halloween one. It's always Halloween when it gets bad. But we were doing a different one, and I was Chrissy Sparkles, and I was being slimered by the Ghostbusters ghost. And in Calgary, we had found whipped cream and dyed it green, and it was so fine. Kayla shoved it directly down my throat. Cool, it was whipped cream, it was great. We couldn't find whipped cream in Golden. We found sour cream, lactose-free sour cream that wasn't put in the fridge, so it was left out in the room that didn't have air conditioning, and dyed green. And I love sour cream, but I can't smell sour cream anymore because of it. I was like, Kayla, if you put that down my throat, I will throw up on your hand. And she was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. I remember I got slimed, and that's how I got kicked out. I immediately went to the bar bathroom and started washing myself off in the bar bathroom so that I could go upstairs and take a shower. And I'm gagging into a sink. And this drunk girl comes in, she goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You did really, that doesn't smell very good." And then she left. She never went to the bathroom. She never did anything. She just came in, was like, "That doesn't smell good," and went back to the show, I think.
At one point, we ran an entire show that was called Bobcats Boot Camp. And it was just like all the people who were like, "Can I be a part of this?" And we were like, "We don't really know if you have any wrestling experience or if you get comedy at all. But sure, just for the community aspect, we ran a whole show that was just that, of just all these random people who just love the show and come up to us and pitch characters. And we're like, okay, we never really know.
Also, that gave Carla like just an open field to play with them. So she had them doing all sorts of like weird trials beyond just like wrestling. You had them like drink a raw egg.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, that was an
And hot
homage
sauce?
to Rocky, and then the hot sauce is because I'm mean. My ultimate favorite one that not a lot of people saw. It was one of my favorite shows that we ever created, and very few people saw it because it was our first show after a lot of COVID restrictions eased, and people didn't know that we were back yet. So not a lot of people came until the next one, and that was heartbreaking to me. But it was our James Bond parody.
Yeah.
The world is tomorrow is never enough. Diamonds are from Russia. Octopussy.
It was such a fun show. We were fembots, like we were lackeys, and then we took off the clothes and we had like the full fembot, like with the marabou on the boobs. It was amazing. It was so much fun. But I think there was a total of about 6 people in the audience. But like we still went, we gave it our all, and it was super fun. We had a great time. Like all the wrestlers were great. There was a giant speculum. So, I mean, anytime you can see an absolute massive speculum, that's always a good time.
That's just healthcare. You know, there were so many things. It was just this wild. We were in an era at that time of like narrative.
Oh,
we had
era.
a season where we didn't know, because of COVID, we didn't know how many we would be allowed to do. So we started just doing these one-offs that had like more plot and was like somebody fights their way through challenges and stuff like that, rather than our classic wrestling format, because we weren't sure how long the show was going to run. We weren't sure what was going to happen with COVID. So we did these like a lot of these little episodic ones, and there were some really fun ones in there.
So many good ones. Oh, another recent one was the first appearance of Banana. Was, in my opinion, one of the funniest things that has ever happened in GoGo Battles. Just an example of the borderline art school absurd weirdness that we sometimes veer into, that a performer in a banana costume comes out, gets peeled, and underneath is just wearing all like just white undergarments, like white shorts and a t-shirt underneath, and is slippery. So like the whole gag is that nobody can hang on to them because they're a banana. And I remember the audience, I was in the back howling with laughter, but at the same time I was cognizant that the audience was not having it. Like the audience was weirded out by it. And I was like, yes, be weirded out. That is what this is for. This is here to make you wonder what you're watching. The banana is gonna rule this match because nobody can get a grip on it, and it's freaking weird. So much good stuff.
The last show we did was a Halloween show. So some of these characters have been around for long enough that the crowd knows who they are. So now those characters developed a character for the last show. So it wasn't Skank the Tank, it was Drag You Stank.
What is my #1 favorite episode we ever did is War on Christmas. That one was my favorite. I've been thinking about what would be my #1. It was War on Christmas. We sat on that idea for a while. I think that was in season 3. and I wanted to do it for so long, and then we finally got to do it, and it was so good.
Yeah.
And it went off so great. The moves were so good. It was so much fun. War on Christmas was one of my all-time favorites for sure.
We were doing a tag team match where it was myself and Skank the Tank, except in fact we were playing Biblical Jesus and Republican Jesus.
We had the elves, they won.
The reindeer.
The reindeer, snowmen. We had a drunk holiday party.
The Christmas party when we were really getting into the audience and climbing over them and, you know, like just getting into them, like stealing their drinks or like grabbing their fries, and they're like, okay, well, this is happening. Because, you know, that's part, like, I mean, imagine like two wasted girls at an office party who are just like, I don't know, HR isn't here, whatever. Like.
It was so good. It was made just like everything that we could do about Christmas all in one.
At one point I joked, I was like, and then Darude Sandstorm will come on and we'll start raving. And we all laughed, and I thought it was a joke, and it went by. And then on the night of the show, they came in, Skank comes up to me as Republican Jesus, and she hands me some glow sticks, and she's like, our opening song, our go-go song is Sandstorm, so we're gonna like hide these on our bodies and whip them out.
Nobody saw it coming. Sandstorm. Cracks me up so much.
Next level.
Peak art.
Cheryl is, in universe, Cheryl is my girlfriend, and Cheryl is an inflatable love doll, and she originally came in the Gay Bash episode where she was helping East and West defeat Truck. Unfortunately, I was a little more exuberant than I perhaps should have been, and we unfortunately popped Cheryl. It had this wonderful moment where, like, as soon as Cheryl popped, it crystallized that, oh my god, we hate this guy. And it became abundantly clear how much everyone was on Cheryl's side, because everyone started cheering like you killed Cheryl, like justice for Cheryl, hashtag justice for Cheryl. And so she made a return in the season finale, and myself and Cheryl had a one-on-one bout, which she did technically win because she is the better fighter after all.
When we did the ska battle, one of the gags that we did was that I stuffed 6 feet worth of suspender in my pants, so that when I ran past Prairie Cherry, they were supposed to grab my suspenders, but because I had 6 feet of suspender tucked into my pants, it basically made it look like I had a 6-foot elastic stretch on a thing. So, and it was just ribbon, but it was still funny to get a 6-foot suspender stretch going across the mat, so that when it was almost like a yoink that I like ricocheted back. And obviously that wasn't the physics, but it translated as enough of the physics that people knew what was happening. Or same ska episode, I wrote an idea where somehow someone should take a longboard out, and because I'm like this older, like suburban lady, I shouldn't know how to be on a skateboard, and so I end up on a skateboard and I'm getting volleyed like back and forth, like, I don't know what's going on, I'm having such a bad time.
All right, let's talk about the mime fight, all right?
Now, a lot of people in GoGo Battles history think that the show really changed at the moment that we had two mimes fight each other. No, it was just funny. It was a classic absurdist moment for us. That like in the middle of this wrestling fight, we turned both of our wrestlers into mimes. And people went for it. Like the audience was totally in it. They totally bought along with the whole stupid gag. And I think it was an interesting moment, I think, in our writing history, because it was just so stupid but fully conceptual, and there was obviously no actual wrestling involved in a mime fight. And everyone was like, "We're here for this. Keep it going." It was so
Picture
funny.
this. French music starts in the background. The ring is lit. 2 fighters circle one another. One places an imaginary box upon the other and traps them for good.
One of the things that we did is we created a special effects department, which was me. And we had the prop department make a few props and whatnot. And so I went to the costume shop and bought a green morph suit. And so my involvement was running around, and we told everyone that I didn't exist, that I wasn't there, and that we would erase me in post. But primarily most of the episode was me running around picking up people, and they would Superman into someone else, or they would jump up and we would freeze frame it like the Matrix, and then like bullet time them in. So really it was just me lifting the entire cast, or some of the smaller cast members around and doing all kinds of martial arts Matrix kind of mayhem. And it was just, again, pure chaos, because it was just this giant green morph suit in the middle of the ring that everyone was told to ignore, don't worry about it. And then at that point I had the character Evangeline Superstar, I think was the iteration at the time, lifted up on my shoulders, doing like circular roundhouse kicks, knocking out the entire cast, and flying around, doing all kinds of like flying motions and whatnot.
Let's go be so silly together. Let's go do something really stupid. Let's go do something really funny. Maybe it's going to be political. Maybe it's going to be released. Maybe it's just silly and it's just making fun of whatever. But it's creative, it's fun, it's silly, and it's something that you don't find in other shows a lot. But yeah.
GoGo Battles.
Early days.